Hi, it's Lee and welcome to the Tesla Economist. At Investor Day, we get to hear Tom Zhu talk about how manufacturing is going with Tesla. Remember, manufacturing is going to be Tesla's main competitive advantage, and Elon often tells us just how important a strength it will be for the company moving forward, as it's the most essential element in driving costs down for EVs. We're told that Giga Shanghai took 9.5 months to complete, and now Tom wants to beat that record with Giga Mexico and have it complete within 9 months from breaking ground. We've actually heard that they may start construction there within the next 3 months, which sounds amazing, given that means the site would be complete within about a year. Yet, we are now hearing that they may even begin this month, as they're just awaiting the final permits. One thing you can say about Tesla is that they do not mess around. Remember when we saw them building Giga Texas and Berlin, and they'd already started building the production lines before the factory was even complete? Tesla are in a rush to get the world to transition to renewable energy. Regulatory measures in Europe slowed down Giga Berlin, but it would seem Tesla has immense support in Mexico, which is likely why they chose that location over Canada. Well, that and the lower cost of labour. Tesla has now hit 4 million vehicles produced, but it took 12 years for them to get to their first million, then 18 months to build the second, then 11 months for the third, and then just 7 months for the fourth million, which is some impressive exponential growth. Next, we get shown the amount of labour hours and output for the Model Y from Shanghai and Fremont over the last 6 quarters. These graphs are actually providing some really impressive data. For Shanghai, we can see that output has increased by 150%. So if at Q3 2021, the start of the chart, Tesla are at volume production or around 25,000 a month, they're now at over 60,000 a month. However, when we look at labour hours, the number has reduced to 27% of the amount of labour, almost 3/4 less labour. The label is labour hours, and this refers to the amount of labour hours per vehicle, not the labour hours total in the factory. A lot of this is due to the somewhat recent line upgrades we saw in Shanghai. However, due to other variables like price drops and factory shutdowns, we actually never got to see how much impact these upgrades had on margin or reduction in cost of production. We may still get a surprise as to how much margin Tesla are able to generate from the Shanghai Model Y. The Model 3 is not illustrated, but that has also seen some improvements, but nothing close to the Model Y. We're also shown the same graph for Fremont. Fremont hasn't had as much effect over the quarters as we can see. It's remained fairly consistent up until Q4. We saw a drop in labour cost of 40% and a 16% increase in output, which is good, as demand in the US is high due to these tax credits. They also say this has resulted in a 90% overall equipment effectiveness, which is another way of saying uptime, as in only 10% downtime. That's really impressive, along with a 45-second cycle time, which is the time at how regularly they expect a car off the production line. Just for some quick math, if one car comes off the line every 45 seconds, that's 700,000 a year, and at 90% uptime, we have 630,000 a year. Now, this number does not match the actual output from these two factories combined, as we know Tesla produce more Model Ys than that, so I'm not sure if they're talking about just Shanghai there or not. However, 45 seconds was the same time we were given on GigaFest for Berlin, which means if they can keep 90% uptime there, then we could see around 630,000 Model Ys a year from Germany and probably the same from Texas. On a side note, we recently got to see a tour around Giga Shanghai, and in that video we were told that the Model Y from the first station to the last station takes just 2.5 hours on the production line. Now obviously this number is outstanding, as previously the last we had heard was it took about 10 hours to produce a Model 3, likely at Fremont. The Model Y facility is getting outstanding output, about triple volume production, so perhaps this is possible, although it doesn't seem like enough time when you include the paint shop. Then we get an update on cell production, and if you recall on Battery Day, we were shown a video with the spoon, and the big announcement now is there is no spoon. They're no longer using the spoon, and we get to see one of the dry electrode machines, although it appears they are the dry battery anode, not the cathode. The rumour is that the dry battery cathode is the biggest issue with the 4680 ramp still, and we don't really get a specific update on that situation. We're then shown the difference in floor space compared to the 2170 factory and the 4680 factory in Fremont, also known as the Cato Road facility. I estimate that the Fremont facility is about 5 times smaller than the 2170 factory, which is obviously a massive space saving due to the dry battery electrode process. But this was just a small pilot line. It looks like the Texas 4680 line has saved about 1/3 the size again, and then slightly even more for the new Gigafactory Nevada 4680 line. So each time they're finding ways of saving more and more space. It looks like they'll get almost 1/10 the size of the 2170 floor space, which is an enormous saving in capex and construction time. Just look how massive Giga Nevada is and how long it took to build. They don't illustrate a 4680 line for the Mexican factory, despite that would be built before Nevada. In fact, there has been no mention of any cell or battery factory on that site. My guess is that they are going to use LFP cells from CATL, possibly because they don't want the 4680 cells to delay any more production, and they want to move on with some new models. We've already heard that the new Gen vehicle is able to take a variety of different cells, not just 4680, which is quite interesting, and we start to wonder how they're doing structural battery packs without 4680 cells, yet still using the new Gen production techniques. It's going to be very interesting when this new Mexican factory is complete to see just what kind of future Tesla have planned with their new vehicle, and how it's all integrating, not to mention production time and cost. So these new cell factories are going to be faster to get built too, due to being so much smaller, and Drew says that they can reach their objective of 1 terawatt-hour of stationary storage a year and 20 million vehicles, which might be around a total of 2 terawatt-hours a year. On battery day, the objective was 3 terawatt-hours a year, so this appears to have dropped somewhat. At that rate, it would also take 120 years to reach the objective of 240 terawatt-hours total, so hopefully there are some other companies also helping to facilitate this transition. We get to see a rendering of the 50 gigawatt-hour a year Corpus Christi lithium refinery, and we hear that they've already broken ground on that refinery too. 50 gigawatt-hours a year is not a massive amount, enough for perhaps 1 million more cars, so they're going to need a lot more refineries to meet their objectives. The crazy thing is, they say they'll start production within 12 months, whereas most people say that a refinery takes something like 6 years, so this sounds like a very ambitious objective. They're also working on the cathode facility in Texas, which is a 60 gigawatt-hour a year facility, but still a 10-month build time there too. The equipment is being installed for the first time lately. So Tesla appear to still be vertically integrating more themselves, with the lithium refining and cathodes, but the numbers they give us are relatively small compared to the production numbers we hear, like 100 gigawatt-hours a year of 4680 capacity. But perhaps they'll build more refineries and factories for the Nevada factory when necessary. And then this makes me believe more that the new factory in Mexico will end up using LFP cells in whatever new vehicle it is, which clearly the Tesla community have narrowed down to 2 potential vehicles, either a compact or a van. And it seems that most people are leaning more towards the van being the next vehicle, which does make sense, as it will have a higher selling price, and thus more gross profit per sale. On top of that, it's not going to Osborne or cannibalize any Model 3 sales. Some people think it may cannibalize Cybertruck sales, but I'm not sure about that. And besides, the order backlog for Cybertruck is so long anyway. Elon says that so few future EVs will even use nickel batteries, and the majority are going to be using LFP cells, unless they're long range. So I think it's very likely the new factory will be using LFP. Thanks for listening. Please hit the thumbs up and subscribe. You can follow me on Twitter and talk to me on Patreon.